Level 1. The Doubter. You're 16. Church kid. Third-generation Christian. You just told your youth pastor his sermon didn't make sense. Not rudely. Just honestly. He fumbled the answer. You watched him search for words he didn't find. That pause. That's what you keep returning to. Not the question. The pause. You go home and open a browser. Bible contradictions. The list loads in seconds. 12 entries copied into a notebook. Neat handwriting. You bring one to youth group Wednesday night. The pastor fumbles that one too. You conclude the whole thing is false. Because a question you wanted answered became a weapon before you knew the difference. Because the fumble felt better than the answer would have. You're not looking for truth anymore. You're looking for more fumbles. The notebook grows. Forum accounts multiply. Strangers online call you sharp, perceptive. You stay up until 2 in the morning reading men who are certain God doesn't exist. Their certainty feels cleaner than your mother's faith, cleaner than anything you've been handed. A voice underneath the satisfaction whispers, this isn't actually about truth. You ignore it. You still pray. Automatically. Before sleep. You hate that you still pray. The youth pastor calls your parents. Your mother starts praying for you by name every morning. She sends a handwritten letter. No argument, no theology. Just that she loves you. Just that she's praying. This is harder than any fumbled sermon. You don't know what to do with something that doesn't argue back. Older students notice your questions. They watch you the way people watch someone doing something they wish they had permission to do. You file that away. Someone shares your forum post. A stranger replies, "You should read Dawkins." Then apply to a serious university. The book arrives. You read it in 2 days. Something locks into place. Level 2. The Academic. You're 27, PhD candidate. Dissertation: The Myth of Moral Grounding in Judeo-Christian Ethics. Your advisor calls it brilliant. You call it obvious. You teach undergrad survey courses now. Introduction to Philosophy of Religion. 50 students per semester. You don't force the deconstruction. You model it. You ask questions the textbook doesn't answer cleanly. You let the silence do the work. Because silence in a classroom reads like your youth pastor's pause read to you at 16. You know exactly what it does to a room full of students who were handed faith instead of reasons. A worship leader comes to office hours. Junior. She's been crying. She says your class destroyed her faith. You say, now you can build something real. You believe this when you say it, mostly. First academic paper accepted. Resurrection Narratives as Political Myth. 42 citations in the first year. You lecture on 1 Corinthians 15. If Christ has not been raised, your faith is futile, and presented as Paul's own admission of the argument's circularity. What you don't say. The entire chapter affirms resurrection. Paul is dismantling a hypothetical, not conceding one. Your students don't read far enough to know the difference. You know the difference. 11 students publicly questioning faith by end of semester. 1 worship leader. You file these upward in your mind like metrics. The worship leader drops out the following semester. You hear this secondhand. You file it away somewhere you don't open often. A Christian apologist in your department publishes a peer-reviewed response to your paper. It's good. You can't dismiss it quickly. The rebuttal takes 3 months. You didn't expect 3 months. You reread the full chapter while preparing the rebuttal. You close it quickly. A publisher reaches out. They want a book. Your advisor says, this is how you win the argument permanently. You sign the contract. The advance is $40,000. You start writing. Level 3. The Author. You're 32. Published author. The God Delusion is only the beginning. 140,000 copies sold. You're not an academic anymore. You're a movement. The speaking circuit opens. Podcast launched. Book signings in 7 cities. The argument is the same one from your notebook at 16. The audience is now 100,000 strangers who needed someone to say it first. A megachurch pastor's son emails you, says your book saved his life. You know what he means, you gave him permission. You write back warmly. He deconverts publicly. His parents release a statement. His mother's grief reads exactly like your mother's letter. The same cadence, the same absence of argument, just love and loss on a page. You connect these things. You put the email down. Because freedom from is a product you can sell. Because freedom for requires an answer you don't have, and no one is asking for it yet. You quote Romans 1:20 in interviews. God's invisible qualities are clearly seen. You frame this as Paul admitting God is invisible, making faith a form of intellectual dishonesty. What you don't say. The verse argues creation itself is the evidence, leaving unbelief without excuse. The opposite of your argument. Your interviewers don't have their Bibles open. You do. In your head, 140,000 books, 80,000 podcast subscribers, speaking fee, $4,000 per appearance. The pastor's son added to back cover testimonials. Your father is diagnosed. Terminal. Your sister calls. He's asking for you. He wants to pray together. You haven't spoken in 2 years. You go. You sit beside him. He prays aloud. You don't stop him. You hold his hand. You say, "I don't know." It's the most honest thing you've said in 5 years. You publish nothing about this visit. He dies on a Tuesday. You're on a plane to a speaking engagement by Thursday. Level 4. The Influencer. You're 38. YouTube channel. 400,000 subscribers. You stopped noticing it. Weekly videos now. Scripture debunked. Miracles examined and dismissed. Former pastors interviewed across a desk while you nod with practiced empathy. The format works. The algorithm rewards certainty. You are very certain. On camera. A former missionary sits across from you. 20 years in the field. He describes watching a child die and concluding God didn't exist. You nod. You ask the follow-up questions that make him cry on camera. 4 million views. You don't follow up on him afterward. You have to look up his name to caption the video correctly. Because grief makes compelling content. Because you learn to monetize the exact wound that broke you at 16, and the process has become so smooth you no longer feel the machinery. 400,000 subscribers. 4 million views on the missionary video. Second book advance. $120,000. Speaking fee now $8,000 per appearance. Secular Humanitarian Award. The phrase public intellectual appearing in print without quotation marks. A Christian apologist releases a 10-part response series to your channel. 12 million views, more than yours. Comments flood in. Have you seen the response? Former subscribers email saying they went back to faith. The missionary resurfaces publicly. He's a Christian again. He credits the apologist's series. You watch all 10 parts alone. You take notes. You don't publish the notes. The apologist is eating your audience. Your publisher says so directly. A platform isn't enough anymore. You need something that outlasts algorithms, something structural, something permanent. You register the nonprofit. Reason Forward Foundation. The mission statement uses the word permanent. Level 5. The Institution Builder. You're 45. Executive Director. Reason Forward Foundation has 12 employees, a board, and a $3 million annual budget. You've stopped being a person. You're a cause. Curriculum now. Legal challenges. Grants to secular student organizations on 43 college campuses. You've moved from persuasion to infrastructure, from argument to architecture. The 16-year-old with the notebook built a machine. The machine runs without the notebook. A teacher in Ohio emails. 3 students from evangelical homes finally started thinking freely after your curriculum unit. You forward it to your board as a win metric. You think briefly about their families, then about your mother, who is in a hospital in another state. Your sister texted 3 days ago. You responded with a heart. You have a budget meeting. 42 school districts running your curriculum. 400,000 downloads. Legal fund, $800,000. Foundation budget, $3 million. 12 employees. You brief a congressional staffer on secular education policy. They take notes while you talk. Matthew 5:9 appears in your curriculum. Blessed are the peacemakers, framed as evidence that Jesus was a social reformer, not a theological figure. What's omitted? The Beatitudes describe kingdom citizens whose identity is inseparable from the resurrection claim in the same gospel. You teach the ethics and amputate the source. The students receive the ethics. They never meet what produced them. Because an institution lives past the individual. Because you built something that doesn't need you to survive, and that thought should comfort you and doesn't. The IRS opens an inquiry into the foundation's tax-exempt status. A board member leaked financial records. Your speaking fees flowing through foundation accounts as educational expenses. Your accountant delivers the number privately, $260,000 in personal back taxes owed. You don't tell your team. Your daughter is 17. She asks why you look afraid. You tell her everything is fine. She watches your face when you say it. You settle with the IRS quietly. You call it a victory. Your daughter was in the room. Level 6. The untouchable. You're 52. UN Advisory Panel. Geneva Keynote. The Foundation's endowment is $11 million. You are no longer arguing against God. You are building a world premised on His absence. 7 countries now have education frameworks citing your work. The argument from your notebook is UNESCO referenced. Doubt has become policy. You fly business class to deliver it. 800 academics in Geneva. You say, the project of human flourishing requires the permanent retirement of supernatural explanations. Standing ovation. You fly home. Your daughter doesn't answer from the airport. Your mother died while you were in Geneva. Your sister left a voicemail. You listened to it on the runway. You didn't call back until you landed. Geneva keynote fee, $30,000. Third book, 200,000 copies. Foundation endowment, $11 million. UN Advisory Panel, one of 12 members shaping secular education policy across member nations. Somewhere between the worship leader's empty chair and the Geneva applause, you stopped believing your own argument. You don't remember exactly when. Your daughter could tell you. She watched it happen. She cataloged it the way you once cataloged Bible contradictions in a notebook. Same handwriting, different conclusions, because motion prevents feeling. Because you built the machine large enough that stopping requires courage you spent a long time ago. Your daughter publishes an essay, major literary magazine. My father taught me God wasn't real. Here's what I found instead. Her conversion. Your name throughout. Specific. Accurate. The worship leader appears in the comments section. Within 6 hours she's a pastor now. In Cincinnati, the missionary shares it with a note. This finished what the apologist started. Your foundation board emails asking about the UNESCO partnership implications. You read the essay 4 times. You draft a response. You delete it. You draft another. You delete that too. The essay goes viral. A journalist from a major publication calls your foundation's press line. You don't call your daughter. You call your lawyer instead. Level 7. The exposed. You're 58. The profile publishes on a Tuesday. By Friday, everything has a different shape. The journalist used your daughter's essay as the entry point, then went further. Former staff on record. The IRS settlement disclosed in full. Financial records showing personal expenses coded as ministry overhead. The missionary interviewed. The worship leader, named for the first time in any publication as the woman who dropped out of school the semester after your class. Her quote runs in the second paragraph. He handed me a shovel and called it liberation. 6 words. You have no answer for 6 words. Foundation board convenes an emergency session. Vote to remove you. Unanimous. Endowment frozen pending review. 3 speaking cancellations in 48 hours. Publisher delays the 4th book indefinitely. 42 school districts quietly drop the curriculum before the week ends. 6 of 12 employees resign by Friday afternoon. The congressional staffer stops returning calls. Everything enumerated across 40 years. Gone in 72 hours. Because everything built on negation collapses the moment the negation is negated. Because you spent 40 years arguing God wasn't there and He kept showing up in the people you left behind. The worship leader, the missionary, your father's hand in yours, your daughter's essay, your mother's 40 years of handwritten prayers. The silence arrives. Real silence. The first since you were 16, sitting in a youth group with a notebook full of questions you needed to be weapons. Something stirs in the silence. You recognize it immediately. You've always known what it is. You burned it down to an ember. It's still there. Your daughter calls, not to gloat, just to say she's praying for you. You hold the phone after she hangs up. You stay there longer than you've stayed anywhere in 20 years. You could call her back. You know people who would answer. The door is still there. Barely. But there. You pick up the phone, you put it down, you pick it up again, you put it down, you open your laptop, you start drafting a statement. Somewhere, there's a 16-year-old. Church kid. 3rd-generation Christian. He just found your videos. The channel is still up. The foundation scrubbed your name from the website, but the YouTube archive is untouched. 400,000 subscribers. 4 million views on the missionary video. The Geneva keynote with the standing ovation. He finds it through an algorithm that doesn't know what happened on a Tuesday when a profile published and everything changed shape. He sees the confidence, the precision, the standing ovations, professors endorsing the back cover, He sees what looks like freedom, intellectual permission to stop believing something that was always confusing and sometimes painful. He wants the clarity, the certainty moving in the other direction. He's tired of doubt feeling like failure. You made doubt look like courage. He doesn't know about the worship leader's 6 words. He doesn't know about the missionary, or your father's hand in yours, or the phone you put down twice, or the 40 years of motion that turned out to be running from a room you could have walked back into at any point. He types your name into the search bar. He finds the Geneva keynote. He watches it twice. He opens a new document. He titles it, "Questions My Pastor Can't Answer." The movement doesn't mourn its casualties. It just finds new ones. The machine doesn't need you to run. It just needs the next one to believe it does. Thanks for watching, and make sure to subscribe before a God hater gets assigned to your algorithm instead.